Hey everyone, thanks for being here today with our Applied Mortgage Academy webinar series. This is our Refinance Readiness webinar. We also offer homebuyer webinars and lots of different educational material going on. So this is going to be about maybe 20 minutes or so. We try to keep it pretty quick, pretty high level, but we always offer one-on-one consultation after we wrap up. So make sure that you keep my contact information handy and please pass this along to anybody else who it may be useful for. We're going to go through today what is a refinance? Why are you maybe interested in it? Market updates, just kind of what's going on with home values and mortgage rates. And then I've got a couple of real life examples that we'll walk through so that you can be best prepared to act. That's the goal here. And the chat feature, by the way, I think is disabled in this webinar. So if you've got a question, you can pop it into the Q&A section. And I think it comes over anonymously that way. Or again, just keep my contact information handy and we can chat about your specific scenario after the fact. Likewise, if you're listening to the recording, you can always reach myself or my team with any questions. So refinancing just means redoing your mortgage. You already have a house, you already have a mortgage, you want to get a different mortgage, you want to change it for some reason. Really common reason to do that is to try to get a lower interest rate. A lot of people now are hoping rates come down a little bit, they can get a lower payment, and that would certainly help. You could also maybe shorten the term of the loan or lengthen the term of the loan, right? Go to a 15-year or go out to a 30 or whatever. You might have mortgage insurance that you want to remove because you've built more equity in the house. Maybe you have other debt you want to consolidate. You could use your house and the value in your house, the equity, as a tool to do that. You might want to take cash out just to have extra cash on hand. Maybe you want to renovate. Maybe you've got other investments. Maybe you need to add or remove somebody from the loan for whatever reason. So these are all really common reasons that you look to refinance. I want to just give a quick market overview now. So as a homeowner, you're probably watching these trends. Property values continue to appreciate, especially here in New England. We don't have a huge housing stock, and so there's a lot of demand to be here. And there's not a lot of new construction houses being built all the time. So we're getting high pressure demand on low inventory. And we're seeing this chart showing a percentage change in home prices over the last 5 years was 57.4% nationally and 65% in New England. While we have had tremendous growth in the last 5 years in real estate value, that's not completely unusual. In the last 30 years, house prices have appreciated by 321%. So real estate, you probably know because you're in this webinar and thinking about refinancing, you probably own a home. Real estate's a great investment to have. This is just another source here on this chart that's showing potential growth in equity in homes. So your value of your house over the next 5 years. If you bought in 2024 for $450, which is like roughly the median house price here where I am in Western Massachusetts, it is likely to be worth as much as $540 by 2029. Right now, homeowners are sitting on a lot more equity than they have in the past. So your equity in your house is the difference between what your house is worth versus how much debt do you have on the property. So for example, say your house is worth $450 and you only owe $300, your equity is $150,000. So if you were to sell the house, you'd have to pay your mortgage off and then you'd end up with the leftover proceeds. It wouldn't be exactly 150 because you'd probably have to pay your attorney, you'd have to pay your realtor, you'd have to pay some transfer taxes, but roughly that's how you calculate the equity position. And you can use that equity while you own the house for other things we're going to talk about in a minute. So mortgage rates. This chart here is from Mortgage News Daily on the right side of the screen. These are not our rates, but this shows you national average and where rates have been over the last year. You can go to mortgagenewsdaily.com if you want to track this yourself, and it'll show you on a day-to-day basis the change. And you can see mortgage rates go up and down all the time. Many economists are predicting that mortgage rates may settle back down at some point in 2025 into the mid to low sixes. But as you can see from this chart here, they've pretty much been anywhere from like upper sixes, low sevens, kind of most recently. And at one point last year, for a very, very brief time, and there was a lot of volatility, you can see all these up and downs, rates actually did go into the low sixes in about September for literally about 2 weeks, and then they popped back up. So for those who had already done this webinar, who had already been thinking about refinancing, they could act really quickly and take advantage of these rates. A lot of people said, oh, I don't want to refinance yet because I think rates are going to keep coming down. And then rates popped back up really quickly. So all that to say, I can't tell you what feels comfortable for actually doing the refinance. Some people are very happy if they have a 7.5% rate and rates get down to 6.75 and they can save $100 a month. They want to do that. Other times people want to wait longer. They want to try to save more. So the most important thing is just to understand that this market is always changing. And what we can do is we can give you an analysis of where your payment is now, what your payment could be at certain mortgage rates, and then you'll be prepared. So if we say, hey, remember when we spoke and you thought 6.5 was a great rate to refinance at? Well, guess what? We've got this little window where rates are at 6.5. You can then be ready to go ahead and do it before they pop back up like they did last year. On the other hand, we never know what the bottom is going to be, right? Nobody can actually predict what's going to happen. The predictions that came out at the beginning of 2024 were that rates were going to get into the fives. And look at what happened throughout 2024. They never went into the fives. Another thing I want to just make sure everybody's aware of is we have this home report tool. This is a program called HomeBot. We're actually going to be sunsetting this and going to a really similar but improved tool that's called Home Report. It's very similar. So I'm actually just realizing I need to update this link. Anybody that's watching, just shoot me an email and I can give you the correct link. You can plug your home in to this. It's a complimentary tool. And every month we'll send you insights on how much your house is worth and where are mortgage rates so that you know when might be the right time to act. Now, this is just an online algorithm like Zillow or Realtor.com or any of those. So I do always want to say it's very important to stay in touch with your real estate agent too. Whoever helped you buy the house, they would be the best resource to know the true value of the property. And oftentimes real estate agents check in every year or every couple of years with you anyway, because when you're ready to sell your house, they'd love to sell it for you again. So it benefits both of you to stay in touch and to be able to keep track of where your property value is. But this tool will give you at least, based on the computer system, what your house likely is. You can use it to follow trends in your neighborhood. And you can certainly use it to track where mortgage rates are and what a good time would be to refinance. So most common reasons, again, of refinancing are lowering the rate and the payment and using equity in the home to pay off other debt. I'm going to show you those two illustrations so that you can actually see what those numbers might look like. This is an illustration to lower debt, or I'm sorry, to lower the rate and get a lower payment. This person, when they bought, they were at a 7.5 interest rate for a 30-year fixed. Their payment was $2,069 a month. Back on that chart I showed you, kind of in like the end of the summer when rates dipped down into the low sixes, they were looking at a refinance in the low sixes. And so 6.375 brought their payment down to just under $1,900 a month. And it saved them $173 a month. It also saved them $37,000 in interest over the lifetime of the loan. So for this, They could have decided to refinance at 6.5% or at 7% or whatever. We can expand this chart out further and we can show you how much savings you would have. And then that way, again, depending where rates go, you can be ready to refinance when rates hit that place, hopefully, that you're waiting for. But I thought this was a great illustration. Kind of general rule of thumb is you want the rate to be at least a half or a whole percent lower than the rate you already have, because there are closing costs that go into doing these refinances too. They're rolled into the loan amount. So see how this loan amount payoff is $296, but the new loan amount is $304. This is what a lot of lenders don't tell you. If you get solicited in the mail or by phone, especially by big box places where they just have big call centers that are trying to get people to refinance, they'll tell you, oh, this is a no points, no closing costs refinance. Well, guess what? There are closing costs. They're just in the loan. That's how it works. There's no hiding anything. But it looks like it's hiding because it's in the loan amount. So you want to make sure that you're going to keep the house long enough so that going up in loan amount to cover the closing costs makes sense based on how much you're saving per month. We will help you do that analysis too. If you think you're going to sell the house in a year or two, then you don't want to refinance because you would have just paid those extra closing costs for no reason. You can also pay them out of pocket, but a lot of people like to just finance it into the loan amount because then it really doesn't feel like it's coming out of their pocket and they're still going to see a good monthly savings. Our second real example we have here is for debt consolidation. So this person had a current mortgage that was actually at a lower interest rate. And you'd say like, well, why would they want to get rid of that low mortgage rate and go into a higher mortgage rate? Well, what's happened with a lot of folks, and I may have a slide on this later on, but I may not, the consumer credit card debt is at an all-time high now compared to ever. And what's happening is a lot of people have mortgage rates that are very low. So they want to hold on to that low mortgage rate, but then they're sitting on thousands of dollars of high interest credit card debt. And it really is a potential opportunity for folks to utilize their home value and their equity to roll in the credit cards and the debt and just have one mortgage at a fixed rate and get rid of those credit cards that are at 19 to 29%. So this person had a mortgage payment that was $1,283 a month, but they were also paying $65,000 in high interest debt that was costing them $1,579 a month. So their total household budget was $2,862 a month between the mortgage, and they were paying even more than their mortgage and credit card debt. And so when we bundled it all together into a new mortgage, we paid off the mortgage, we rolled in all the credit card debt, we rolled in the closing costs. They even got an extra $26,000 cash out, and their monthly payment was $2,087. So they went from paying $2,862 as a household down to $2,087. They saved $775 a month, and they have cash in their bank account too, which made them feel good. Now, we are not financial planners. We are not accountants. We're not estate planners. We are lowly mortgage officers. So all of this to say that this made sense for this person's scenario, and they consulted whoever they felt they wanted to consult to figure out whether they should do it. I'm not saying that it's the best scenario for everybody to tap into the equity in their house. For some people, that doesn't make sense. But for this person, they had so much extra room and it freed up so much money on a monthly basis that this felt really good for them to do. Here's that slide I was looking for. So consumer credit card debt, like I was saying, is at an all-time high. And you want to look at your blended rate that you have. So if you have your mortgage, but then you have student loans, car loans, personal loans, solar loans, credit cards, whatever else going on, you may want to just think about, is there a way to consolidate that into a lower fixed payment where you're actually going to pay it off and you're going to pay less interest, we have a lot of really cool tools that show you what the projection is and how much interest you'd actually be saving. So as we round out here, we're almost at our 20 minutes, and the goal really is to just feel prepared. So we offer everybody a complimentary consultation anytime. No question is too big or too small. You can always reach myself or my team to be ready to refinance. The key is really understanding what is that trigger point that you'd want to do the refinance? How much savings are you looking to get? Or what are you looking to do with debt consolidation? Or how much cash do you want out to pay for your kids' college? Or whatever the challenge is that you're facing. You want to talk about that sooner rather than later. We, on our consultation, it's very low pressure. There's no cost. There's no obligation. We talk about your goals. We talk about what matters the most to you. Do you want a lower payment? Do you want cash out? Do you need to consolidate debt? What's going on? And is there anything else that you want to pay off? And then ultimately, if you did decide you want to go ahead, you would gather your financial documents, we'd go through the mortgage process, and at least you'd be ready to get the rate locked in when rates come to where you want them to be. So thank you very much for tuning in to our Applied Mortgage Academy Refinance Readiness webinar. If you scan this QR code with your phone and you bring it up, it should bring you to my calendar. I was just double checking the link. So it does work. And that is for a complimentary mortgage consultation. So on my calendar, you can click on annual mortgage review or refinance analysis. And you can set up a time to chat with myself or my team if you work with somebody on my team. And we are happy to answer any and every question you have about making your mortgage more comfortable. And we can also answer any questions you have about your mortgage in general. We can connect you with other resources that we have in our network informally. You know, we don't have any affiliations, but we certainly know a lot of great people who would be able to help if you have questions around taxes, financial planning, estate planning, you know, anything that makes you more comfortable in your home maintenance, contractors, all that kind of stuff. So thanks again for tuning in. We're going to stop this video and again, reach out to myself or my team anytime with questions. We'd love to hear from you.